you are an overnight success after 10 years of hard work. So that way, success will come, go. It's a very temporary phase in life. Are you putting that kind of hard work and passionate involvement into anything that you're doing is the big question.
A very, very good morning, ladies and gentlemen across the continent. Thank you so much for pouring so much of love to Your Icon channel. And because of so many requests, we restarted this channel after a pause. And today we have one of the icons whom I personally look up to. Now, all of you would be knowing, of course, Chitale Bandhu is one of the Pune's most loved homegrown brand. And it has been a part of your daily lives forever. And it's such an honor and pleasure for me to host the 4th generation partner of this 81 years old Chitale Group, Mr. Indraneel Chitale. A very, very welcome to you, sir. Thank you for accepting our request.
Thank you, Sangeeta. It's my pleasure to be part of this.
Excellent. And we would, like to know, rather my audience would like to know, you have handled various roles across manufacturing, data management, supply chain, franchising, etc. What has been your most preferred role?
Oh, I still love my most preferred role would be anything that's into operations. So I am by nature a relatively hands-on guy. So I like being on the field, getting things done, and my engineering also probably makes me get to do things a lot as an instinct. So I love being on the field, being with people, getting people to align together and achieve great things, make new things, innovate. So being on the field is something that I genuinely enjoy.
Excellent. And people say every success story lies in the details. So no wonder you have been so successful. So
well, I'm glad you think so.
I understand under your leadership, your business vertical has been able to triple their volumes. So would love to know what strategy you followed to make this really possible in this competitive market.
Well, so as you said, it's a very, very competitive market. And that way, what happens is that when we go into a distribution chain business, of course, you get the volumes because of the scale, but you also have to compete extensively with, say, 200 other brands doing the same product and 5,000 other brands that are going to try and make a space inside the shopping bag that every customer brings in. So that is where 3 things really matter. One, how confident is your retailer in selling your product, and how confident is the margin structure that the retailer seems to think he is going to gain out of it. If they are happy about it, then they will try to push your product because their interest lies in your margins. Second part is the marketing, where as a brand, are you able to generate a pull which ensures customer demands your brand? Because something like a chuda mixture or a shape mixture, there will be 200 other brands who can make it. So why would a customer choose it amidst 200 other brands? Is where your brand values, your brand communication, your marketing, and your product merit all stand out. And the third part is on the supply chain, that how fast can you create your product available? Because if your product is not available in the shortest possible time from manufacturing, your customer is not going to be happy not buying a fresh product. So that's why how efficiently can you put your product from your factory to the market to the retail is where the supply chain plays an important role. So if these 3 things can be done properly and they start working as a unit, you are able to scale or build volumes really fast.
I have always heard during my grown-up years that devil lies in the details. If you can't get the grassroots level operation right, rest everything falls apart. So purpose driven. Beautifully answered. Thank you so much for those valid input. Now, we would love to know, as per the new genre, right, where people have been saying that whatever tastes good to the tongue might not be good for your tummy. So there seems to be a little dichotomy between the tastier side of food with the health quotient. So there seems to be a little negative vibes going around and sweets and health vis-a-vis healthy style of living. Are you doing something so that our traditional taste bud continues to enjoy in the healthier version?
Well, so there are a couple of facets to it. One, of course, is about the perception of eating healthy. So yes, that's growing. That's an alarming trend. Post-COVID, everybody is conscious about what they eat. But secondly, why I call it perception is because not necessarily can something that is marketed as healthy is actually healthy. So, you can have a debate on the way some source of protein is better than other source of protein, for example. But protein also comes with its own source of fats. Now, is the profile of fat actually analyzed where you are seeing what is the saturated fat, the unsaturated fat, how that impacts your body, what is the way the cholesterol in it is carrying, where the HDL, LDL levels matter. So, not everything is generically bad, not everything is generically good. Moderation of everything is necessary, and understanding the food chemistry is more important rather than, just saying that one category of food is good and the other is bad. So this understanding of nutrition is something that everybody needs to go through, because what you consume directly affects your body. So that's why you should be consuming wisely. If you're aware about what you're consuming, then you will not end up falling sick because of your diet. Now, the third part is that how is Chitale Bandhu trying to address this? So we have already created a brand called M Square, which stands for Mindful and Mouthful. And the idea behind it has been that, whatever you're eating, which is a mouthful, can be mindful as well while doing so, and healthy as well. So be it the range of lactose-free products or the gluten-free products or the no added sugar-free products, all of these things which are aimed towards making a healthier person, or aimed towards mitigating risk like diabetes or lactose intolerance or gluten intolerance, etc. All of these things help a person who has been conscious or who is suffering some sort of disease enjoy those products without compromising on the original quality of the product, yet getting a better nutrition profile. So that's why what we have been doing at Chitale Bandhu has been is on focusing on nutrition, where how can we give better value of nutrition for every bite consumed, and that is what we are trying to build with our R&D.
Okay, excellent. We went, I'm so glad that we'll be able to consume our real delicacies in the healthier format. And you very rightly said, what is market is not always the true factor. You have to look at the category and the ingredient and everything. With that, my next question comes. We know that you have been an avid music lover. You're formally trained to play tabla, keyboard, drums. You have been also a very active biker and has rode motorcycle across the globe. So how do you juggle with so many things and still be your best version in every arena?
Well, so here's the thing. I think everything is about the passion. So be it your work, be it your family, friends, be it what you enjoy. If you're doing it passionately, then you will find time for it, and then you will try to make the best of what you do. Now, if you ask me, am I a really good musician or am I a really good biker? Of course, I'm not. But do I enjoy doing it? Obviously, I enjoy it. And, am I passionate about it? I am. Similarly, when it comes to the balance of work, there are many people who are doing far bigger balance sheets and complexity of work than I do. And that way, I am a very small figure in terms of the entire spectrum of world leaders around. But that should not be a reason for me to stop giving my best. So, am I giving my best is one question. The other thing is, am I being passionately involved about what I want to try and achieve in my role as a managing partner, as a father, as a biker, as a musician, is what I try to question. If I find an answer, I continue doing that. If I don't find an answer, I will try to find the answer, or just say that probably this is not my cup of tea. It's okay. I cannot be good at everything.
Nobody can catch you on questions. You really answer very well. So this is beautifully answered. Try to be the best in whatever you do, and then rest will follow. So with that question, when so many things you're best at, being a father, being a runner, being a musician, being a successful businessman, it's not easy, right? Everybody demands an equal amount of attention, and the time becomes very, very difficult. So what is your advice for the young generation? How do you manage? What is the best to when there are so many things they have to juggle with?
Well, see, here again, the question is purely on how, are you enjoying what you're doing? So, if you ask me, I am definitely working 12, 13 hours a day. Apart from that, I'll probably sleep 6 to 7 hours a day. So, what remains is about 4 or 5 hours, which I have to take care of myself, my family, my kids, my dogs, etc. So, how do you prioritize your time, and what do you make of the time that you have is all on your passions, right? So as long as you're enjoying, then it doesn't matter how what kind of a work life balance you have, because what I enjoy might not be what you enjoy, and what both of us might enjoy, somebody else might not like at all. So in today's world of social media validation, I am probably extremely antisocial in terms of how I go about with my life, but that way I genuinely make sure that whatever I'm putting as hours, as time, as commitment into anything I do, I want to get the most out of it, and whatever makes me get that is what I pursue. Otherwise I don't pursue. So that is something that I've learned over a period of time.
Find your passion, purpose will follow.
Yeah,
I think that's what you have beautifully
true that.
pointed out. Uh, Wanted to know, generally, you coming from a very reputed business background,
Yeah.
uh, does that really shape your upbringing and thoughts and purpose of life, or does that give you certain discipline into the rhythm? Because I have always seen people who are successful, they continue to be successful, and people who generally don't make it, they continue to fall. Is there some secret sauce which have been handed over from generation, which you think that really impacted your life?
Well, so I recently read somewhere, I think it was Sylvester Stallone or Tom Cruise. I don't remember who the Hollywood actor was. But what they said was really important was that, you are an overnight success after 10 years of hard work. So that way, success will come, go. It's a very temporary phase in life. Are you putting that kind of hard work and passionate involvement into anything that you're doing is the big question. So growing up in a business family that's been around for 83 years, of course I've seen everybody put in an immense amount of hard work, immense amount of passion, immense amount of emotions as well into the business, into their personal life, into what they like to enjoy beyond business. And that way, that is something that definitely helps you groom yourself up, because you see that, my grandfather's younger brother, who's now 87, is still, enthusiastic about coming to the factory sometime or the other just to see what's happening. So that's just inspirational enough for somebody like me, because, 50 years apart, we still feel that kind of a connection with him and his passion, and that's what drives you towards being there in the business, running and growing it. So of course that environment and family background makes a big impact, but along with that, what I also feel is that it's also got a lot to do with what your intent about it is. That, if your intent is to create value, if your intent is to grow something, today or tomorrow you will be successful. I don't agree on the loop that somebody who's unsuccessful is going to continue being unsuccessful, or vice versa. It's like the sea, it's like the tide. You'll keep up going up, you'll keep going down. You have to understand that many things are far beyond your lifetime that you have to create. So what kind of legacy do you want to leave is what you have to question rather than anything else. Is
I
what
love
works for
the
me.
answer. Thank you so much. Of course, failure is the pillar of success, and
Yeah.
success only follow when you 110th time you still decided to not to give up.
Yeah.
I'm totally on it. But my thing was that people who don't take those up. So I'm just putting this question a little differently. So do you think it's only the hard work, or does the circumstances, which is bigger than you, has an important role to play?
So there is a difference between hard work and donkey work. So if you're chasing donkey work and claiming that you're working hard, then that's not hard work. So hard work is always with some greater goal in mind. So what kind of goal do you have is very important. So I think many people confuse that just putting in the hours is not enough. You have to put your hours and energies into something that is going to create value beyond you. If everybody sees value, you will grow as a side effect. You don't need to propel yourself beyond that. So that's how what you should be looking at in terms of growing or being successful.
Beautifully answered. It's more of a quality of time than the quantity of time, and that
Yeah.
how productive you are in that quality, that kind of creates a value. So now that you brought value quotient into the game, today's world of startup are running behind valuation. Value has become the second dominant thing. So, but the traditional business house always have believed that create value, valuation will follow.
Yeah.
Now, there's a two dichotomy of both the world.
Yeah.
And we are seeing what's happening, company being public. But so as a startup, people who want, especially the young generation who wants to start their startup journey, and that rat race that you have to raise fund, you have to do this. What is your advice to those young mind who's trying to start something new, or even a mind of 40 plus years who want to do something for the society on the entrepreneurship way?
So to be honest, to learn this point of view, I also started our own startup and started investing into startups as part of my daily reporting. And that way, growing a startup and running a established brand are two very different things. But that way, I am uniquely poised because I fund startups. I run a startup which has been funded, and I run a 80-year-old company. So I bring three perspectives onto the table here. Now the point on question is that what is important, the valuation or the value. And over the long term, I think we are seeing what's happened with all the unicorns who were valued at crazy numbers reflecting onto the stock market. So you can play the valuation game with investors who are playing a very different perspective of it. But when you get into the large markets and actually try to work with the retail investors, institutional investors, then their perspective will be purely on the numbers and how value is being created. So if your balance sheet does not reflect the value, everything else is poor. So just putting a multiple to some turnover and a huge amount of loss is no way to sustain a company. And unfortunately, what happens is that with many first generation entrepreneurs, they are so busy running the business on all fronts and trying to professionalize. They do not end up looking at the long term and creating or looking at creating a legacy or so looking beyond them.
Mm-hmm.
So they are always about, what about me? Because their sustenance itself is the big question.
Right.
So I think if entrepreneurs are able to set up a vision which is a little long term and actually towards continuity and sustainability rather than just valuation, they will probably not be valued or come into the rich list in the very first year or the second year, but they will ensure that many generations will continue to enjoy the value and the benefits of the riches that they create, and not just monetary, but also in terms of the employment, in terms of the goodwill, in terms of the value and the brand that you create.
Beautifully answered. Yeah, I think that goes back to the root of our parental learning that, first start baby steps, start small, fill your stomach, fill the stomach of your employees, and then think about the next step. We can't jump multiple float together. Beautifully answered. Now, I would love to know what has been your vision for the, such a big group, big brand you're part of associated. What's the vision of Chitale Group?
So the thing is that we when we look at a vision and a mission, there are two separate things. So on a mission, we want to be a national player. But if you ask us what the vision is, then the vision is that we want to honor tradition, we want to cherish innovation, and we want to add joy to every occasion. So that's the vision that we've set. So we want to make food that makes sure that every occasion that people eat, it should be a Chitale product and it should be adding joy to what they want to do.
Beautiful. I know. And, in already you are far away, like being in Pune, I was in Bangalore for last 20 years. Your brand, whenever people used to come here to Pune, used to say that, please carry a packet. So it was a tradition. Now it is available.
Yeah.
Sometime back it wasn't. So I think vision is very, very beautifully portrayed. Just to understand, what has been the origin of the name of this brand?
Well, so my great grandfather started the business and he had 4 sons who joined the business after him.
Okay.
So that way, these 4 brothers were the ones who actually built upon the foundation that was made and made a brand out of it. Mm-hmm. So their next generations and their next generations are the ones who now run the business. But nonetheless, it was the brothers who started it together, and that is why Chitale is our surname, and Bandhu means brothers, and that's why Chitale Brothers was the name of the company pre-independence. After independence, with the the immense patriotism that all the family members have, they changed it into an Indian name, which is Chitale Bandhu, and that continues since 1950 now.
Interesting. How do you have any plans to go to international market as well?
So we do already export across the world, but we are now looking at establishing Chitale Express stores in other countries as well. And we are building the foundation for it right now. It will take about a year more before we start deploying stores, but we are building the processes for it now.
And are you all across the country, different parts of the country now available?
Well, we are present in about 11 states now. We are not across the country yet, but we are in the major part of the country, or the larger states across the country are where we are present. We're now building towards catering to a national presence now.
Excellent. Need to, this question I ask to all my guests. Your icon episode is Success Sutra with Sangeeta. So what has been your success sutra or success source to be able to be here today, a part of your icon? So our guests would love to know your success sutra.
Well, I think it's been a mix of discipline, that passion to innovate, and communication and building a great team.
Beautiful. And I would like to take your brain in that. Today is very competitive. Team is generally, I run business, so I can figure out how difficult to hold on to team. But I believe in your brand, you have held on people for 30, 35 years. So what is that you have done for team to be so dedicated and motivated and still continue to be with you from generations?
Well, one is about innovating, as we say in our vision, that we are doing something new every day, and not always with success, but we are chasing innovation all the time. And that is what helps team be driven in a direction. And second is the one-on-one communication that we do, because I probably still liaison or talk to more than 1,000 people across the organization, and I'll be knowing them on a first name basis, including what's happening inside their family, who's going to school, who's getting married, who this, that, etc. So that rapport and communication, which was started by my grandfather's generation, it's something that we still try to preserve with each and every person who works with the organization, and that way, that is what helps us connect to them as an employer who cherishes value and not just the commerce of it. So if you're able to cherish the value, then the commerce comes naturally from there.
That's, I think, the secret sauce many people are not able to really achieve. How do we create value? Because you're so bound to getting into the valuation, getting into day-to-day nitty-gritties, the longer term kind of missing. And that's where I think
that's where the new startups are ending up firing people now. So that's the case.
That becomes unicorn in 2 years, and next year it becomes reverse journey.
Yeah.
Absolutely. With that, my last two questions. Before we jump into the rapid fire round.
Okay.
In today's scenario, everything is very, very competitive with too many career choices. Many times everyone is running without clarity. Now, as a successful entrepreneur, a businessman, and somebody people look up to, what is your advice for the generation today who's really confused and need guidance to be able to have clarity?
Also, what I've seen as a big concern with today's generation is that social media and the validation of social media is taken far too seriously by the next generation, as well as the people who are making the law, as well as the politicians. And unfortunately, this is all a virtual world that we are talking about, where that does not necessarily impact anything into the physical world. So we need to figure out that, are our actions adding towards building something better or not? And that way, the appreciation or the validation in real world is actually necessary rather than just social media validation. So how do we put that effort where we are validated in terms of measurable matrices which impact the world in a positive manner is what we need to keep thinking about. That is what the youth should be focusing on in terms of adding a meaning to their life. And if they are able to do something like that, then I'm sure they will be able to move far beyond the finicky nature of social media and the connected world that we are living in, and actually find a purpose which is far outreaching than their lifespan could be. So how to bring that is a big challenge. I think that also requires a lot of communication. But I think whoever I meet, whoever I try to influence, I think I would rather influence them on this rather than just being on a social media influence. So that's the focus.
Today's social media influencer with people with 5 million followers, it just will take a single day to drop it back to the normal. So it does.
Yeah. So in Marathi, there used to be this saying that, Gallit vicharat nahi kalo kutra. which is like not even a black dog asked for you in the lane. But Facebook or app Pashe Mitra, which is like you have 500 friends on Facebook. So rather do something meaningful where even the dog appreciates you, because those 500 virtual friends are probably of no use.
Absolutely, beautifully said. With that, my next question, or the last question, because coming from your previous answer, are you doing something different in the group because I believe you have a purpose-driven business model, you do quite a few social work. So is there anything which you want our audience to know, which they are not aware of? And is there any way, you need the society contribution? Is there any way, your icon people could come forward and support certain cause?
So when we were talking about the healthy food and the healthy eating, very, very stark observations that come into our country itself are alarming. So one is that 50% of Indians will be diabetic by the end of the decade. Secondly, 37% of India's children under age of 6 are malnutrition. 90% of this are undernutrition, about 10% who are overnutrition. So, these kids who are under age of 6 or 8, them with a lot of, challenges around them, which is urban challenges, which are very different, where both parents are working, and rural challenges where probably both parents are working, but they don't make enough money to feed their kids. We are subjecting our next generation to a lot of, unregulated diets and controls, which are actually affecting them adversely at a very young age. And unfortunately, with social media and digital media, they are spending more times on TV screens and iPad screens rather than spending time on the playground. So it's a big concern because we are selectively contributing towards making our next generation unhealthy. So Chitale Bandhu has been working extensively with a lot of Anganwadis, a lot of municipal corporation schools, a lot of village and Gram Panchayat schools, where we are helping kids that age and mothers also who have just given birth monitor their nutrition and actually be healthy. So that way, this is a big concern that's right there around us, where we are probably wasting food and our mates is not getting the food to eat every day in the house. And being in the food business, this stark contrast is in front of us, but not many people are acting on it. So if people are just more aware about what they're consuming and the nutrition and just the balance and distribution of nutrition across the society, India will be a healthier country. So we'll be glad to have more people help us in this cause and actually spread more awareness on nutrition rather than anything else.
This is, I think, one of the most misguided portion today. Today we see Instagram, Facebook video. There are 20 different versions of the same thing. So it's very confusing. And if we could do something, we'll be very happy to be able to really articulate the right knowledge. So with that, thank you so much. You've been one of the most wonderful speakers, very crisp, contented, and right message came through. We'll have a quick 3 to 5 minutes rapid fire round, and then we'll kind of close the show. This just to add a fun element. If Indraneel wouldn't have been partner of Chitale brand, what career choice he would have had or he would have chosen?
I would have been a pilot.
Okay. Ocean or mountain? Choose one.
Mountains.
Okay. A book in hand or a music in the garden?
Oh, well, both depends on the time of the day.
So which time would book go and which time the music go?
Oh, well, mornings would usually be more on the book side and music would be more on the evening side.
Excellent. Indian cuisine or foreign cuisine?
Indian.
Best Indian cuisine as per you?
Oh, that's a tough one. But I think my personal favorite would be the Kerala food.
Oh, mine too as well.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite most author?
Favorite most author? Well, on just a pure author's sake, I would say J.K. Rowling.
Okay. Harry Potter, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of music does go to your heart? What you can relate the most?
Well, Indian classical is my favorite, so I enjoy that.
Favorite singer?
It depends on the genre, but if you ask me Indian classical, it's Vincent Joshi, I would say.
Perfect. Now I'm just switching the first question.
So,
Book or music. I want to any point of the day without the day's timing. Would you prefer to catch up a book or catch up on a movie?
I'll catch up on the book.
Okay. With that, the favorite most book which really kept impression in your life from childhood?
Well, there are a couple of books. It's very hard to say just one. But then if you ask me one book which is something that I'm fond of, and I think every time I read it, I learn something new, is the book called Art of War by this author called Sun Tzu. It's a revelation every time you read the book. So it
Excellent.
just brings in new perspectives every time.
Okay. What's your favorite sport?
My favorite sport would be either cricket or basketball.
Okay. And cricket mein, who is the favorite most player?
Sachin Tendulkar.
Okay. What is the one message of Sachin Tendulkar that kind of really impacted you?
Well, so I was lucky enough to see him play live.
Wow.
And the thing is that with Sachin, if you see that way, he's a uh, very unassuming personality in real life. And he lets his work do the talking. So that's something that I like, that, that way he does not have the celebrity air that today people carry. And his runs, his scores, his records, his wins for India are all something that we'll remember probably match by match. So that's something that I like about him, that he lets his work do the talking rather than anything else. So
absolutely, that shows in your personality as well. Last question: if you have to rank yourself in this 4 order, one being the highest and 5 being the lowest, in which order you will put yourself? A dad,
okay.
A husband, a son, a businessman, a social worker? Sorry, it's a tricky one.
Yeah. Well, I think I am number one a businessman. That's the highest, right?
Right. One being the highest.
Yeah. Then the second would be a husband. The third is the father. Fourth is the social worker. Fifth, I lost track.
Oh, lovely. Beautifully answered. Anyway, excellent. Love that answer. Very, very tricky one, but you really put it nicely. The last questions. Today, if Elon Musk comes to you and says that I'll buy over your brand completely, and you run it the way you want it, but decision will be on mine, and he gives you a very fancy multiple billion-dollar check, would you accept it? And if not, why you don't?
No, I don't think so. I will accept it because we run business with similar amount of passion and eccentricity. So I think we have a lot more to discuss. But I'll tell him that if he sets up the colony on the moon and Mars, whatever he's trying to do, we'll set up stores and a dairy there as well. So we could collaborate on that.
I love that answer. that very, very strong presence of mind. And thank you so much for being on my show.
It's my pleasure.
Really true honor and pleasure to host you. And I hope to see you in many, many times when you go live in a big grand way. Thank you.
Look forward.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.